Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to episode 204 of the Sticks in the Six podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Forbes, here with my co-host, Peter Barricini. And Peter, we got some breaking news off the top of the show with the release of the NHL schedule. But before we get into the fun and excitement of the 2025-26 season right around the corner now, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, going great, man. Like you mentioned, a lot of breaking news, and when that schedule releases, you know that it's already anticipation time right now when it comes to the NHL. So, just kind of felt like the draft and just ended 2-3 weeks ago. Free agency just around the bend, right then and there as well. So it's like everything kind of feels like a long ways away, but there's like gaps in between, but it still feels very short with everything happening right now. So the fact that the schedule is released, and I know we got a lot to talk about with that right now. So yeah, it's been a pretty eventful week. You know, even today I did a bit of shopping before I came on. You know, did a bit of writing as well. So it seems like everything's falling into place with me right now. So in a good spot overall schedule wise.
Well, it's heating up outside. I mean, we're hitting
Hot
40
as hell.
degree weather with humidity and all that, but it's also heating up on social media with the release of the 2025-26 NHL schedule. Before we get into that though, big shout out to our followers, our subscribers, our viewers. We hit 200 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Keep it going in that direction. We appreciate all of you. As you've seen on any of our episodes, if you watch it, you get involved in the conversation on our live shows. We definitely get you involved as well. We have some very committed listeners, and we appreciate that as well. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Let's keep it rolling.
Last few episodes too, the party has been nonstop in the chat.
It's
So
been great.
yeah,
It's been a lot of
fun.
conversation.
It
So
really has. Yeah.
yeah, even I, like I said to you off air before we kicked it off here. I mean, I had did a quick shifts episode this morning at 3 a.m. Just because we missed last week, and we had like 5 or 6 people watching at 3 o'clock in the morning. So whether they were, heading to work or what have you,
Late night party kind of thing.
late night party, having a few bevies and closing out the night with the little sticks in the six quick shifts.
Love
But
it.
anyways, I'd be remiss if we didn't kick off the show with the
have to.
news of the release of the NHL season. Obviously, the big question mark is when the Leafs would see Mitch Marner in Toronto. We will get to that in one sec, but the Leafs will kick off the season against Montreal October 8th in Toronto. Obviously, that's a yearly thing.
No better
Toronto,
way to kick
Montreal,
off the
no
season.
better way to kick
No
it
better
off.
way, especially at home right now. Demidov coming up, Hudson, rookie of
Yep.
the year. That's a good way to start it off right now.
Absolutely.
Oh, and no options first game as I have as well.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We are also going to be seeing some Western Conference teams in the first month of the season, which seems to be the way that they're going right across the board. The Leafs do have 2 back-to-backs in the first month of the season, obviously with the Olympics coming in
More
2026.
back-to-backs again, yeah.
We're going to see a fair amount of back-to-backs. I believe the Leafs have 13 back-to-backs. Montreal's got 17, so maybe we got favored on this one. Maybe.
I was about to say, maybe this time around, maybe the NHL watched an episode of Six in the Six and they heard our complaints about the constant back-to-backs and how we were the most ones. So you know what? I guess, okay. I'm a little happy with that. I'm really happy with not having the most back-to-backs.
Absolutely. And I will say, too, only 3 Saturdays over the 7-month span where the Leafs aren't playing, 3 of which are during the Olympics. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
There should never be a Saturday that the Leafs aren't playing, but I'm okay with it being 3 with Olympics going on.
I was just about to say, Team Canada makes up for that, right? So you know
Team
what?
Canada
The
makes up for
hometown
that.
boys, the hometown teams are always going to get Hockey Night in Canada or the Saturday night games regardless. So you
That's
know
right.
what? There you go. The
That's
Maple
right.
Leafs, they're always in charge, man.
So January 15th, the Leafs are in Vegas to take on Mitch Marner and the Vegas Golden Knights. January 23rd, Mitch Marner returns to Toronto. Now, if you haven't seen it already, Mr. McCarthy on X let us know that right prior to that game, so the night before that game, the Vegas Golden Knights are playing against the Boston Bruins, so it will be a back-to-back. It will be the second half of a back-to-back for the Vegas Golden Knights, which means which means no game day media availability for Mitch Marner. And that also means potentially no post-game media availability for Mitch Marner.
Mm-hmm.
So, Peter, with that in mind, take it away, my friend.
I think the Maple, whoever's like on the media Leafs team or like traveling to Vegas, better get their questions answered in Vegas. Otherwise, they don't give Mitch Marner any availability to Toronto media, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But I don't know. My instant reaction to that was and I talked about this, and I sent the GIF of it online on Twitter as well. Quoting Dave McCarthy's tweet, is the scene from The Incredibles where that teacher's having that little bit of a conspiracy or whatever, where he's just like, coincidence? I think not. That was basically my reaction to that. I mean, it just encapsulates the whole entire thing. Now, again, we don't want to go down that conspiracy theory,
it's flowing,
rabbit
man.
hole.
It's flowing.
It's already flowing. You could already read it from the comments right now. Everyone is just like, oh, well, shocker. Mitch Marner probably had a say in this. I don't know how, but he did. Like, the comments and quotes is just absolutely phenomenal right now. And obviously, we don't know the full story. I mean, that's usually the case with back-to-backs. But it is very coincidental that it is against the Maple Leafs, and there is going to be no availability in Toronto. That's why I said maybe, hopefully, all the media teams or the media reporters from Toronto could get their questions answered when they're in Vegas a few weeks earlier. But, yeah, it just kind of seems very, very odd and suspicious already, which basically, if Mitch Marner really wanted to, like, clear the air and talk to the media, fine, whatever. That's usually how it's supposed to be. But at the same time, now you hiding from the media basically just proves everyone's theory right now, where the heat got a little high, you weren't able to handle it, and now you don't want to go back and face it again. I mean, I again, don't want to draw too much of a reaction to this, because it is usually the norm with media availability, but again, the timing is very, very coincidental with all this.
I will say this. A couple weeks back, we talked about it and what it would be like for him to come back in. And I mentioned that there's the potential that he gets the Toronto flu and doesn't play. And we kind of joked about the fact that, how crazy would it be if he didn't end up playing against the Leafs. And now the fact that there's no media availability. I mean, if you're not reading the comments on Dave McCarthy's tweet, you got to get over there and take a look, because
even if you don't have an account, create an account and watch it.
This is mayhem at its finest. This is Leafs Nation.
Yup.
Starting to get the passion and the heat out already. We're mid-July, and the hate is already like at an all-time high. I mean, we're talking. They're mentioning Paul Marner having it written into Mitch's contract that he doesn't have to do media in Toronto. Like, it is getting absolutely insane. But we knew this was going to happen. We knew it was going to happen.
Friends, ladies talk Leafs too, just as we thought.
Yeah.
That like everything's flying right now. It's
like I said,
a storm.
Like I said, protect the Prince in Vegas, man. Protect the Prince. He's your highest paid player. You got to make sure he's happy. He doesn't want to do media.
He's the golden boy right now.
He's the golden boy. He's basically the golden boy.
So yeah.
I will say this. I'm not going to go down the conspiracy rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
I love the passion of Leaf Nation already getting on the train. I was corrected by a listener who actually reached out to me privately and said that, my comments about eventually people are going to forgive Marner, the way they did Vince Carter, that they called me on that. They said, I think you're wrong. I think, and I had mentioned that on the show a few weeks back. I'll eat my words. I agree with you. I think I'm wrong. He made some great points. He said, Vince wasn't a Toronto-born kid. He wasn't a guy coming into his prime at a time where the organization was set to do something dangerous, and the way that it happened was so much more different than the way that Mitch Marner happened. So he said he will never forgive Mitch Marner. That's fair. That's fair. Hey, look, we'll go back to the analogy that I got called out for on the show. There are some ex-girlfriends that you will never forgive. this may be that ex-girlfriend that you never forget.
That was literally 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that was perfect analogy. But I will say this with Marner's return to Toronto, I think there's going to be a lot more animosity and a lot more hatred and anger than JT going back to the Islanders.
I agree.
I feel like it's just again with JT. It was a family matter. I guess you could say the same thing with Marner too, but it was how everything played out at the end throughout the whole entire playoffs and to the tail end. That was constant failure and everything like that. You could also make the same arguments with JT. How he didn't step up, but at least he took a lesser role of a pay cut to still try and win with this team. Marner basically just abandoned the core. And if they really wanted to get it done, they would have proved it otherwise. And I think that's why everyone's going to be a little bit more salty. And I think this is a little bit more of a different situation than JT, but Marner's going to get a lot of heat from that.
I think the difference is going to be, and let's think back at this, like, Islanders fans can be very salty, like even in the best of times. Leaf fans, they love and they hate.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you said about Carter.
They hate.
A love-hate relationship with Vince Carter, like you said.
Yeah. And it took a long time for him to earn that back. And that was a completely different situation. You can call it family matters that brought him over to Vegas. I don't know if I'm buying. I think the thing that changed it for everybody is the information that came out afterwards. The talking to Pacioretty, the talking to Ryan Reaves, getting a feel for like, what it would be like to live in Vegas mid-season.
He was already gone at that point. Basically,
he was a foot out the door when the Leafs had the potential to make a run in the postseason, and he was a passenger. He was a guy who, and a team can get very tired having somebody like that in the room.
And the thing is, if he already knew that he was already leaving and out the door, why wouldn't he just waive his no move clause? That again, his right to waive it regardless. It's in his contract whether he wants to waive it or not. But it's like, if you already knew you were leaving, why not help us out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We know we're not going to sign you. You know you're not going to sign with us. And I think that's even where everything starts to build up as well, with the talking with, former or current teammates or former teammates rather right now, with the fact that you didn't waive your no move clause, but within his contract, it just seemed like everything fell into place. And now this is kind of like him turning into that, villain type kind of role.
There was animosity towards the organization from the get-go, and I think that's what changed.
Which doesn't make sense because the organization gave you everything you wanted.
Kyle Dubas gave him everything he wanted.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Sorry.
And
Kyle
I think
Dubas
when Kyle Dubas
Shanahan
went out the door, and there was these rumblings that one, Dubas had wanted to trade him, but also that the organization was looking to move on from him.
Didn't want to move him.
I think that created even further animosity, and it got to a boiling point where there's no reconciliation within any realm that this was going to come together. So in saying all that, we will see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Okay. Late January, you're right in the heart of the season. May be
circle your calendar.
It's going to be a hot ticket, man. It's going to be such a hot ticket.
Oh yeah.
But there's going to be no media availability the day of, possibly post game. We're not sure, but there's the potential for that as well. I think it'll depend on how the game goes. If Vegas comes out and storms the Leafs like 5-2, Marner gets two tucks and an assist, I think he'll make himself available and pull some more hypocritical BS about like, I love the fans, I love Toronto, I love this, and but if they go out and get pounded like 5-0, and Matthews snipes for 3 and Marner's a dash 4,
dash 2, dash 3, dash 4, yep.
I don't think he makes himself available, and I think Paul hires some like security guards to like walk him out to his car afterwards, but we'll see about that. Anyways, we're gonna move on from the schedule. The schedule is very exciting. Lots of key points. 3 weeks obviously off for the Olympics.
Yep.
So it's gonna be a big season. Lots of hockey, a ton of hockey, and some big games. Obviously, we'll see how the Leafs play out. They're starting to look a little bit better with the possibilities of certain players potentially coming in. Two of those guys, Jack Roslovic and Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
Peter, we're linked to two relatively big names, one a free agent, one a trade commodity. Your thoughts on both of these?
Yeah. To me, again, and I know our colleague Jesse Corvo Lynch wrote something about like how going after Erik Karlsson doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I fully agree with him. To me, the defense is not the issue at this point. I mean, you already have your top. I mean, you could get a little bit more offense to try and improve over Morgan Riley, but let's face it, he's going to be your top line guy. You already have Brandon Carlo. The only way you're going to get some help is if you have to ship out a defender as well. To me, filling that top six role that Marner left is still the priority over Erik Karlsson at this point. Not only that, ever since he had that 100-point season, it's just been a downward spiral. So we don't know exactly which Erik Karlsson we're going to get. And I don't think we want to make any moves. Oh, we got another fan here. We got a fan. So I will say that going after Erik Karlsson should be an afterthought. Even Dougie Hamilton, I feel like if you have to go between one of the two, I feel like I would rather go after Dougie Hamilton than Erik Karlsson, but Jack Roslovic to me kind of fits the build more of a top six forward. I mean, this is a guy that really had an impressive. I assume he had like a really, I would consider a breakout year where he had, just over 50 points, 25 goals. I mean, sorry, I'm looking at last year's season. 39 points, 22 goals with the Carolina Hurricanes. So that's decent production in like the mid six. So if he's able to elevate that up, and he's played with Matthews in the past with the NTDP as well, there's a familiarity and chemistry. I even wrote about how maybe if Jared McCann is available, Leafs should go after him. He's a proven top six winger, but again, assets are going to be a little bit difficult to come by in a trade. Might as well just try and sign him and see what you can get. Is it going to be enough to replace Marner? Probably not. But you got a little bit more goal scoring production. If you could elevate that up and improve on the 39 points that he had, that to me would be a big win. I think there's a lot of promise right there. But I mean, I'd rather take him than some of the other names on the market. But it kind of seems like he's the best bet. But if you are going for a trade, you're going to have to pay up to get that top six forward.
Yeah, let's assume that Michelli's going to be a top line guy for the Leafs going into this season, and
that's the other thing you got to consider too.
Yeah, that's the way it seems to be trending. I think Roslovic is a solid depth player. I mean, he had a 1-year deal with Carolina, $2.8 million. That obviously he had a relatively good season. I believe he had 22 goals. So that's that's something to look at. If he can provide some of that scoring in the bottom six, you're not looking for an 80-point guy. If he can put up 55 to 65 points and have 20 goals, that's going to add to that depth, which is what the Leafs have needed. Not only in the playoffs but during the regular season as well.
And he's 6'1", 194.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot more size and strength over Marner at that point.
Yeah, and then you got to remember too, you're trying to move on from David Kampf. You're trying to move on from Calle Jarnkrok. There's been conversation with Calle Jarnkrok that maybe the situation just isn't right for him there in Toronto anymore. So like you're going to be moving some more pieces out. That's going to provide opportunities down that bottom six for a guy like Jack Roslovic, who's going to have success in that bottom six. There's been times where he's been put into a top six role with other teams that it hasn't played out well for him, and I think that's partially because he's a bottom six guy.
Yeah.
In terms of Karlsson, what are your thoughts on Karlsson? Like, where does he fit in this lineup?
I mean, instantly that again, you would like a little bit more offensive production from your back end, and I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, he's a right shot defender. He's got speed. He could be his strength, his strength is in transition. And if you're looking at him to be a 50-point producer, which Morgan Riley already is, then great. But I think the big question mark is, the Maple Leafs want to have that identity as a team that can shut things down offensively in their own end. And Erik Karlsson is definitely not that kind of player that you want him in your own end. I mean, again, you don't want to look at fully at plus minus, but he's minus 24 last year. But then again, the Penguins were a pretty bad, defensive team overall. I'm going to try and find a little bit better numbers offensively. I mean, at 5-on-5 for the Penguins. But yeah, again, you get the speed, you get the offense, great, but the defensive aspect, a little bit hit or miss. I mean, he was on for 82 5-on-5 goals, 49% high danger scoring chances for, 328 against. Although, he was on for more goals for, he does have a decent upside with the scoring chances as well. Kind of feels like a mid of the pack right now. I think because he's 35 years old, he's getting up there in age. I think we already know what he's going to be, but you kind of already have that with Morgan Riley. That to me is the big question mark. And if you're only going to get him for just maybe 4 more goals, because he only had 11 last year, compared to Riley, I think he only had 7 all season. So we'll see how that plays out. Yeah, he had 11 goals last year. Morgan Riley, believe he had 7. Yeah, 7. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like a big risk to take on a player that's has a lot of question marks, especially the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I said this on this morning's quick shifts. I just don't see a spot for him. The Leafs.
There is a spot for him. It's just they got to clear it out and make it for him.
Well, and that's it. I think if you do it, you have to. If you make a move to get Erik Karlsson, you have to make a move to move off of Morgan Riley. Do you not? That seems to be the logical answer.
Not even that, but if you're I heard the Leafs, or the rumor was Brandon Carlo was in that JJ Peterka trade, possibly. So if you're moving Brandon Carlo, who's a more shutdown, steady 2-way defender for on the right side for more offense, is that something? Because you already gave up a lot of assets. You gave up Minton and a first for Carlo. Are you going to try and trade him off and then get Karlsson in at $5 million where the offense is there?
You have to wonder a little bit too, going back to that Carlo trade and thanks for bringing him up is whether the Leafs kind of regret that a little bit. I mean, Fraser Minton,
yeah, he's becoming a fan favorite.
Yeah, there's still people kind of out on whether or not he'd be a top 6 guy, but it's interesting. We'll be able to look back on this in probably 4 to 5 seasons and kind of have more insight on it. But I don't know if moving Carlo out is the move you want to make to bring in Erik Karlsson. I think you're moving out more of a steadfast defenseman that can be a stay at home and play the role that you need him to play. And you're for a guy that really with Morgan Riley, you have Erik Karlsson in the lineup. Erik Karlsson's not the same Erik Karlsson we saw in San Jose.
No.
He's not the same Erik Karlsson we saw in Ottawa.
With Ottawa, yeah.
So it's not. We're not having the conversation of are we bringing in a superstar defenseman? This is a guy who's going to be probably above average offensively, but definitely has his defensive woes. Mm-hmm. He's going to make mistakes that are going to piss Leafs Nation off, and is that really the route
you want to go back to that direction that they wanted or they had?
And you're not gonna pair him with Morgan Riley. You're not gonna pair him with a Jake McCabe when Jake McCabe was doing so well last season.
And OEO and Benoit looked pretty good at times too.
So that's what I mean. Where's the spot for him?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that's the biggest question mark. And then on top of that, the financial aspect of it, $11.5 million. Obviously, Pittsburgh would have to eat some of that.
At least half.
But what are you giving up for them to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And would Kyle Dubas even consider making a move with the Toronto Maple Leafs?
Probably not. And also, if you think that he's probably going to ask Easton Cowan for an aging Erik Karlsson, I would be, if I'm Treliving, I'm hanging up that phone right then and there.
1,000%.
Yeah,
1,000%. Or even a Ben Danford. At this point, why would you move on from a guy like Ben Danford?
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, I think there's a lot of rumors flying around. Obviously, a lot of teams this summer didn't get the pieces they wanted in free agency because I think there was a lot of tampering going on league wide. And
probably too much for the NHL to handle.
Yeah, people knew where they were going before free agency even opened up. Anyways, outside of that, actually, since we're on the subject of players going different places, I'm shocked, and we could talk about this now, or we can talk about this after we bring up Palinka here, but Gavin McKenna, we haven't even talked about Gavin McKenna going to Penn State.
Yeah.
How have we not talked about Gavin McKenna going to Penn
I
State?
think we should talk about Gavin McKenna going to Penn State because that is absolutely huge and a big loss for the CHL and WHL.
I not only the loss for CHL and WHL. I mean, it's massive. It's massive considering the type of talent he is and the draw that he is out west. But did you see the NIL numbers that he's potentially looking at?
I think it was like just under $250,000, like 700,000, right?
It was 700,000
Yeah,
for on an NIL deal. 700. That's like, forget it being the biggest in collegiate hockey at the moment.
mm-hmm.
That we're talking about a game changing NIL contract for a kid who was or is easily the first overall pick next season and is probably a game changing superstar in the next couple of years. And he's looking at close to a league minimum contract in the NHL.
Yeah,
Like,
and if
this
players,
is insanity.
I was just about to say, if players want to get a jump start and earn something as a result of that, who wouldn't want to jump at that?
Well,
I mean, you're already looking at like a bunch of players that are already making that jump right now. I mean, Jackson Smith is going to Penn State.
mm-hmm.
Jack Ivankovic, he's already committed. You're already looking at guys next year or for this year's draft, McKenna as well. Pearson Bowie, who's the top pick of this year's draft, is also committed to Penn State as well. So it's like there are a lot of names jumping ship from CHL to NCAA as a result of trying to get a feel for everything to get that. I mean, let's face it, who wouldn't want that extra contract? Who wouldn't want that extra money right now?
Oh,
That's a big sticking point for these players right now. If they could get a head start and be like, yeah, I'll take it. Why not? And also, if it means going up against older and tougher competition than just dominating your age group, I think some of those players like McKenna are up for the challenge. I mean, we've seen it time and time again where young freshmen like Adam Fantilli and Macklin Celebrini have gone in and just decimated guys 3-4 years older than they are.
Season shorter.
Season is shorter. Yeah.
Right. It's going to be a game changer, right? Like, we've talked about this before. We talked about it after the combine. We talked about it even before that. The CHL, NCAA deal that's happening now is certainly a game changer. Voice of the Fans Canada, hey, what's going on? Thank you for joining the show today.
Thanks for joining again.
CHL is done. The ticket revenue is so low throughout the whole league. How can they add X million per team potentially? They can't. It's going to be interesting. I wouldn't
unless
say
the CHL changes something and starts to compensate their players a little bit more.
It's gonna 1,000%. It's gonna change. It's gonna change to an extent, right? You're still going to have players that go the CHL route. I think the CHL gets younger and becomes more of a development league. Like we see the West League, they draft at, what do they draft at, 14, 15?
14, 15, yeah.
So I think the OHL, you're going to look at that. You're going to see some players that are coming up that aren't college level. It'll be a pre-collegiate development league.
USHL type.
Yeah, remember there's not enough schools in the U.S. to really take every player from the CHL. They will take a lot of the top players when they are collegiate level or collegiate age. But remember too that I hate to bring this up. But the geopolitical picture that's going on south of the border right now could have an impact on colleges at some point.
Yeah.
Right? And whether it dips into the athletic programs, we don't know. There's no, only time will tell.
Yeah.
But like we have a situation that's on the verge of implosion, and we don't know what all the outcomes are for that yet.
Yeah.
All the implications. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that the CHL is done yet. I think they will find funding. They'll talk about as a league the same way the NHL did. They will find a way to create like a profit sharing type of program so that teams like the London Knights or teams like I don't know, probably the London Knights being the richest team in the league.
Yeah.
I would argue.
You have to think that.
There would be a way to kind of share that profit, and ticket prices are going to go up, and people are still going to pay because people love hockey, and junior hockey is pretty incredible to watch. If you haven't been out to a game, it's pretty phenomenal to watch when you can get some of the top stars there. Look at the history. Look at the history within the GTA. Brampton had the Battalion and moved to North Bay. Mississauga had the Steelheads. They moved to St. Catharines. Toronto, St. Mike's, and moved to Mississauga. Now are in Brampton. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It is, but remember too that a lot of that came with ownership, right? And the league as a whole, from an OHL standpoint, the league has done a poor job of vetting ownership in the past. I mean, Niagara's a perfect.
Right. I was just about to say Niagara.
Yeah, yep. Niagara's a perfect example right now.
Absolute tire fire.
And it has been for years. That's why Sam Dickinson, when he was drafted there, didn't want to go. That's why, there's been other pieces that don't want to be part of organizations. The league as a whole has to fix the way they vet their ownership. And I think from there, you'll see the league kind of turn that corner. Obviously, that's there's a lot of work that's going to go into that. But again, I'm not ready to sit here and say, CHL is done. That said, the NCAA is going to be exciting. It's going to be a hot ticket. I know that I'm going to look to go down and see like Michigan versus Michigan State this year. I'd love to get to a game. I think I've mentioned it to you before. My cousin played for Mercyhurst D1.
Nice.
We got down to Mercyhurst to see them play Quinnipiac a few times. Like things like that, I'm excited for. Certainly makes for a good road trip for guys like ourselves who love the game. But definitely it's going to be a game changer, and I will agree with you on that. I think it's going to be a major game changer for junior hockey north of the border. Before we keep going here with the last point of our podcast, I do want to jump back to a comment you made earlier too. I say Leafs don't do a video tribute for Marner's sake because it may be uncomfortable for him and the boos may be fierce, more so than Tavares' first return to Long Island. I 100% agree with that, and I think if you're listening right now, my daughter's right here. Come here. She's showing me a heart that she made. So if you're watching,
that is a lovely heart.
See,
that is amazing.
Right. Good job. So yeah, I do. I did. It's a point that I didn't even think about was a video tribute and how it would affect Marner or how it would affect the team, but it's definitely an interesting point to be made. Peter, you have anything on that?
I mean, I guess that was the same thing. Like, it kind of goes down that road of should the Maple Leafs build a statue for Marner outside, Maple Leaf Square? Should his, number be retired? I mean, again, I go back to the last or a few episodes back and I say, what have you done? You didn't do anything to try and you've had these individual accolades, or not even accolades, but like you've had success in the regular season. What have you done to try and boost this team a little bit forward and help push them forward as well? And again, you could say that about everybody else, but it just doesn't feel like, and the way that things ended, I would hold off on all that. I really would. But, in hindsight, the decent thing is to say, hey, thank you for your term here in Toronto. But is that going to go over well? That's the thing. Like, do you do the nice thing and be like, yes, thank you for everything? Even if you don't do a full-on, 30-40-second video tribute, just say thank you, Mitch. That's it. Even if you want to just keep it plain and sweet like that.
Yeah, just a quick shout-out maybe from Mike up in the booth. But that to me, I don't know if you want to go much further than that. I think it would certainly make it awkward. But lots of wonderful comments here. Need me to jump in? Better than your dad. Very nice. Thanks, guys. I appreciate my daughter. My daughter doesn't like to be ignored for even a split second there. So MLSE did a video tribute for Bismack Biyombo. Come on, man. Hey, Bismack had some Bismack, incredible blocks down the stretch. He had some big game blocks, but
that was also at the time when the Raptors were going all in and they were relevant in the NBA.
Yeah, and his exit maybe wasn't as controversial as Mitchie's, but anyways, one we're gonna close it out here with the last piece of news. Actually, we didn't talk about the Reeves trade. We kind of touched on it a little bit. Obviously, Reeves gone to San Jose for Henry Thrun, 24-year-old big defenseman that plays a physical game. Doesn't obviously have as much of an offensive upside, but can kind of play in there a little bit. Your thoughts on that trade, Ryan Reaves? Seeming a little bit resentful on his way out.
Yeah, and I could understand why he would be frustrated, but at the same time, you were put on waivers because you were having inconsistent games. You haven't produced a point. You only had one fight throughout the whole entire year. I guess you could say that the Maple Leafs had a change of direction, but at the same time, you weren't providing any upside, anything whatsoever. And I wrote about this too, about the trade, how I feel like the Maple Leafs are slightly better with Michael Pezzetta in the fold and Henry Thrun as a result of that trade, because of the fact that, yeah, Pezzetta is probably going to be a guy coming in and out of the lineup, but I feel like when looking at his numbers, he did have a little bit more of an on-ice impact compared to Reeves, where goals for, scoring chances, high danger chances were a little bit higher up, whereas Reeves was always just either just above or below 40%.
Yeah.
That, to me, kind of seems like a player that is one-dimensional. Every single time he would try to be a physical force, he would lay a body, he would try to drop the gloves. Nobody would drop the gloves with him. He's not that kind of guy that you brought in to help patrol, help protect the boys kind of thing. But, I mean, even looking at the fights, he had 7 last season. He had 1 this past year, and that was against Matthew Olivier. So
Good tilt, though. Good tilt.
Excellent tilt.
It was good tilt.
But that was your one fight, and you had back-to-back fights where you went up against Arbor Jacki and Marcus Foligno, and you're getting the crowd hyped up.
Yeah.
And I get Reeves was not going to be an offensive point producer, but again, it seemed like time and time again, when he was on the ice, the fourth line was a result of a goal against. So I don't know where the resentment is. Yeah, you have an opportunity to get more play time, but I don't know if it's so going to work out or you're going to be better for it, because everything else, the last 2 years, is a kind of a precursor of what could be in San Jose. On the flip side of things, like I said, Pezzetta may be coming in and out of the lineup, but this is a hometown boy that's signed here, and he knows that he's ready up for the challenge. He wants the pressure. I think he's going to be more motivated. He's got a little bit more speed. He could block shots. He could be a little bit more of a defensive presence than Reeves. And getting Henry Thrun in the process, I thought we would only just get like a 7th round pick, honestly, for Ryan Reaves. The fact that we got a depth defender right now, but a player that has a lot of untapped potential and was a very strong collegiate player during his time with Harvard. Again, there's a lot of promise with Henry Thrun. This is a guy that even last year, I even quoted a link to an article where he said that he's still striving to be a top pairing defender. He wants to be the best that he can be. For him to have that mindset and still work towards that, I don't know for sure if that's actually going to happen, but the Maple Leafs have another depth option on their hands, and very smart and very mobile at the same time too. So I in my piece, I wrote that they're better off with Pezzetta because he just provides a little bit more upside than Reeves and the untapped potential for Henry Thrun. So that to me is a big win. Again, you save money a little bit as well with Reeves' contract. Thrun is still relatively cheap as well. So you get 2 guys for the price of 1 at this point.
Yeah, so jumping off what you said, Pezzetta obviously adds a little bit extra, potential offensively. It still does
impact and not results because he didn't have a point last year.
Yeah.
So that's I should just make a little clarification there.
Yeah, that's but he has the ability to add that offensive ability to his game as well. I'm going to say this: he was a role player that wasn't playing his role.
Yes.
And that's why he was on waivers. That's why he got moved down. That's why, he was in for a game, off for 6, in for a game, off for 20, was because you're a role player that wasn't playing your role. And that's not a testament to Ryan Reaves. I still think Ryan Reeves, it wasn't a fit. I still think Ryan Reeves was an incredible asset to that locker room. His personality, the pranks that he would play, the things that he would do as a teammate. He is a huge commodity in terms of that. He's a guy that wants to reach that thousand game mark. He wants to play, and I don't
discredit that.
I don't discredit, and I'm okay with a little bit of the resentment. the way that he kind of did it in the postseason interviews here, where I was talking about Mitch and how the Leafs Nation gave him too hard of a time and all that. I feel like as a teammate you have to do that, but as somebody who knows the passion of this organization, like maybe you could have looked at it from a different standpoint as well. But I get why that was said.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think Thrun's going to get the opportunity to learn from Chris Tanev, the opportunity to learn from Brandon Carlo. I think those are two assets that you need to have with Henry Thrun to get him to that ceiling. This kid's 24 years old. We cannot sit here and say that he has not reached his potential. This kid is 24
Still
years
young.
old. He's still young. There's still a lot of potential there. And personally, I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do if he gets the opportunity to play for the Leafs this season. Lastly here, Miroslav Holinka signs his 3-year ELC with the Toronto Maple Leafs. What are your thoughts on the signing of Holinka?
Found the timing really interesting because just like hours before Ty Voigt was put on unconditional waivers to terminate, his contract or anything like that, to move on. And it's a real shame with Ty Voigt because he dealt with a lot of injuries. He had a lot of potential, but I guess the Maple Leafs are going with a little bit more of that size factor right now. I mean, he was 5'9", 5'10", 157 pounds. That weight really isn't going to cut it in the NHL right now, especially if there's going to be a lot of heavy hitters like you see with the Florida Panthers. I think that him being put on waivers opened up that spot for Holinka, and it was very well deserved for Holinka. He's had a really great rise after kind of being a little bit of an unknown last year as a 4th-round pick, but there was a lot of upside to that. Seeing the clip, seeing the shot, seeing the awareness that he has on both sides of the puck really stood out even this season when he was playing for the Edmonton Oil Kings. Just under a point per game, 45 points in 47 games. 4 points for Czechia at the World Hockey Championship, winning a bronze medal. So he's got some hardware and international accolades to his resume right now. I think that he kind of fits that Fraser Minton mold where, he's that two-way player. He's going to be probably in your bottom 6, 3rd, 4th line kind of centerman. But this is a guy that knows as we mentioned with Ryan Reaves, this is a guy that knows his role. He knows what's going to be expected of him. And this is a guy that plays with a lot of intensity in terms of like his work ethic, his drive, his motor. He's very, driven in that aspect. And I think this is a really good signing for the Maple Leafs. It was very well deserved. And I think it was only a matter of time before he got it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the 3-year deal, it's big for the Leafs. I think, to see a 5th-round player like this get signed to an ELC, especially with the Leafs, moving on from Toby Niemela, moving on from a guy like Ty Voigt, obviously a smaller player. To see Holinka come in like this and get that contract for what he did in the WHL with the Edmonton Oil Kings last season, 45 points, including 19 goals in 47 games. Like, he's got the potential to be a piece offensively for this team if he gets the opportunity at the big league level. On top of that, I'm just going to read you a tweet that I just pulled up here from his agent, who is, of course, Alan Walsh.
Alan Walsh, yeah.
And it's Kyle Cushman on X. Holinka is eligible to play in the AHL next season, but expects to return to the WHL for a final season of junior. So he's going to get that last year of eligibility to kind of hone in on the pieces of his game that he needs to kind of fix or master before he takes that next step. And I love that part of it. I love that he's focused more on the development rather than on rushing to the NHL.
And it also depends on how they do in the playoffs too. If, the Oil Kings are going to be a factor because they made the first round. Who knows if that's going to be the case this year, but it's also the fact that if he gets traded to a contender, let's say, in the WHL, or if not, and the season's over in the regular season or first round, then he can easily jump over to the AHL and get a few games in and experience there as well. So yeah, it's basically a win-win for him, whether he starts in the A. I mean, it is possible, evident that he's going to go back, but if the season ends at some point, going to the A later on in the season is not a bad thing for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. One other note before we close out here: Carter Bear just signed his 3-year ELC, so he joins a handful of players from this year's draft who forego their NCAA eligibility. So
Back
there
to
are
Everett.
players that are going to stay in the CHL, and that's going to be the focus as we move towards the next draft and the draft of that after that. Teams are going to watch for this and see what kind of works for these players. Some of them, it's going to work better for them to remain in the CHL. Some of them, the NCAA is the route they want to go.
In Carter Bear's defense, too, as well, I would love to go back and play another season where Landon DuPont is on my team. So,
1,000%.
yeah, makes sense for the potential top overall pick for 2027.
1,000%. 1,000%. Anyways, with that said, as always, it's been a pleasure to jump on with you again this week, Peter. We got maybe 2 more episodes before we close it down for season 5. Are we season 5 already?
Already, yeah.
So yeah, a couple more episodes for season 5 before we take a rest and kick it back off for September. As I mentioned on Quick Shifts, we've got some good guests hopefully lined up for September. It's going to be an exciting season. We're going to look for that game. Circle it on your calendars. January, Marner returns. Otherwise, that's it for us here on Sticks in the Six, episode 204. We leave it with our good friend Alex Hobson and his single 25.